can't wait to get your perspective on all that's happening. I mean, having led the Army, having had so much experience with the defense, this is diplomacy now.
It is, and it's very historic. And, you know, I'm reminded of what how so Franklin Graham said today, and the Pope said, praying for success and asking for people to pray for success in Singapore. And I'm one who believes that politics stops at the water's edge. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, liberal or conservative. You need to be, if you care about the peace and safety and security of this country and our people, you want to see this president succeed, and you want to at least see this summit conclude with us embarking on a real pathway to denuclearization.
Van Hipp, speaking plainly. You even got Adrienne Elrod to nod. Like she was in church.
Absolutely nodding my head. Absolutely.
I mean, preach it. All
I feel
right.
like I'm back in the South.
This is my new friend. We're comparing
like
those Southern accents.
Hey.
Exactly.
Only hours to go until the highly anticipated summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Amid growing questions now over whether the president can actually make diplomatic progress with the rogue regime on ending its nuclear and missile program, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said just this morning the ultimate objective for these negotiations has not changed.
The complete, verifiable, and irreversible denuclearization of the Korea Peninsula is the only outcome that the United States will accept. Sanctions will remain until North Korea completely and verifiably eliminates its weapons of mass destruction programs. If diplomacy does not move in the right direction, and we are hopeful that it will continue to do so, those measures will increase.
Meanwhile, President Trump, sounding optimistic ahead of the talks, tweeted this earlier. Great to be in Singapore. Excitement in the air, exclamation point. But some are saying the president needs to be cautious. Former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Bill Richardson, no stranger to negotiating with North Korea, had a warning today.
I like the fact that they're going to meet together separately without advisors, sort of a get to know, let's trust each other. You know, I worry about those photo ops where they're hugging, because the North Koreans use that for their propaganda. And what Kim Jong-un has wanted to do is say, I'm on the same par with the President of the United States. And that makes him a world player on the stage.
Chief White House correspondent John Roberts with the news on the ground in Singapore. John.
Where it's just turned midnight, Harrison, good morning to you from Singapore. President Trump has been preparing extensively for this on this trip. He had a big briefing yesterday with his North Korea team. And, of course, the president has said that he has been preparing for a moment like this all of his life. And he thinks he's got a pretty good read on Kim Jong-un, and certainly is very cautious about giving up anything to Kim Jong-un without getting something in return. Here's the way that things are going to work out tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock Singapore time. That's 9 o'clock Eastern time tonight. President Trump is going to have a one-on-one meeting with Kim Jong-un, just the two of them and their interpreters. Then there will be an expanded bilateral meeting that also includes Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, Chief of Staff John Kelly, John Bolton, the National Security Advisor. And then there will be a working lunch after that, at which they will be joined by Sung Kim, who is the U.S. ambassador to the Philippines, who really is the point person on these talks, as well as Sarah Huckabee Sanders. And too bad we don't have a picture of Matt Pottinger, because he's a fine-looking fella, and he is the head of the East Asia Affairs Department at the National Security Council. The one-to-one is very unusual for a president to sit down with a leader of another country without there being some sort of background. There you see the president with the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong, from earlier today, yesterday, really now. The president saying that he's looking forward to the summit, very excited, as you pointed out at the top, about the possibilities of what could happen. But the president wants to use this one-on-one as an opportunity to sit down solo with Kim and really kind of take a measure of him, sit down face-to-face, as the president said, and he hopes that the two like each other. While it may be very unusual for an American president to sit down with a leader like this one-on-one in their very first meeting, Kellyanne Conway said this morning, that's just how this president does things. Listen here.
President Trump made very clear he would like to meet one-on-one with just the translators, with the other principal here. And that's very much the way this president has been doing business successfully throughout his career. And it may strike many people who have been involved in the past as an unusual request. But remember, we're looking at an entirely different framing.
Between the one-on-one meeting and then that expanded bilateral meeting and the working lunch, the president will talk to Kim Jong-un about a whole package of items: security guarantees, potential end of the Korean War, and the possibility of normalization of relations with the United States, but that will only happen if Kim agrees to denuclearize in a way that is complete, verifiable, and irreversible. Kim Jong-un, by the way, clearly he likes to burn the midnight oil, because earlier this evening he was out and about in Singapore. He took in what's called the Gardens by the Bay, including these big electronic trees they call Super Tree Garden. And then from there he went up to the now famous landmark here in Singapore. It's called the Marina Bay Sands. It's 3 towers of hotel rooms and a thing that looks like a cargo ship on the top of it, which includes a discotheque. There's also a bar up there, as well as a swimming pool and an observation deck. We should point out, too, Harris, that the Marina Bay Sands is owned by Sheldon Adelson, who is a big backer of President Trump. So perhaps a glimpse there for Kim Jong-un about what might be possible in his future should he decide to play ball with the president. Harris?
Wow.
Interesting.
Nightlife for Kim Jong-un, whooping it up, so to speak. Ahead of a summit, I mean, what do you do before the summit? You go out. John Roberts, thank you very much.
You might as well go out.
Great reporting from you. Thank you. You set us up in such a strong way, Van, with what your perspective is on this. But when you hear about the social aspect of this, are we in some sort of a new zone now with this dictator?
Well, let me tell you, he's got some problems on the home front, Harrison. I think a lot of what he's been doing lately, he's been also playing to the home team. He actually had to hire 10 ex-KGB agents last year to come to Pyongyang and help train up bodyguards. We saw what happened just a few weeks ago. We only found out, I think, last Friday, that he switched out his top 3 national security advisors, including his Minister of Defense. And listen to this. The guy he picked, No Kwang Chol is his name, 38 years old. The guy who he replaced, 68 years old, 30 years age difference. Plus, this guy's a member of their Politburo, very savvy politically. So he's doing a lot of things on the home